If you're a first-time business buyer, you know that the SBA 7A loan program is the best loan program out there to buy a business with, and that the terms of it are fantastic. The problem is a lot of first-time business buyers out there don't know these key points about the program, and they always trip over themselves. They do their financial modeling wrong, and they put in incorrect offers with the seller. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you about these things, and there's more, which I'll cover in later videos, that you need to avoid when you're buying a business. The number one thing is knowing the timeline wrong, or getting the timeline wrong. And essentially, what people are doing is they're being misled by certain bad loan brokers. They're being misled by their own optimism, and they're thinking, hey, I can close this transaction in 2 to 3 months, even 1 to 2 months after signing of the LOI. That's just not how it works. This is the timeline that you need to be using in all your SBA 7A loan program transactions. You need to be expecting the time from signing the LOI to close is going to take 90 to 120 days. You need to be getting that bank application in, and this is where everybody's getting it wrong and doing it wrong. You need to get the bank application in within 2 to 4 weeks of signing your LOI. I know that sounds like a rush, especially if you have a full-time job. You absolutely need to do it, because it's people failing to get that first step going that ultimately costs them months of delays, distrust from the listing broker and the seller, and dead deals. So you need to get the bank app in 2 to 4 weeks. You need to, then underwriting is then going to take 45 to 60 days. That's the bank approving the loan, basically. And then closing after that, the bank is going to assign a closer, and closing is going to take another 30 days. Putting all that together, it's between 90 and 120 days is the timeline you need to be calculating for your transaction. And you need to set that straight with the seller. And of course, we don't recommend that you go play negotiator and be the one that goes and negotiates with the listing broker and the seller yourself. That's literally what M&A attorneys do for their clients. But say you do talk to the seller, what you need to do is you need to clearly set that expectation with them up front. And let me tell you, if they're selling a $2 million business, in a typical situation, most of the buyers are going to be using an SBA 7A loan anyways. And so they're going to have to deal with this timeline no matter who it is. And it's great that you're the professional, you're the expert that can tell them how long it's going to take, and you guys can align your expectations and work together and move forward from there. What ends up happening is people set expectations wrong. They're surprised 2 months later that the bank hasn't, moved at hyperspeed for them. Everybody's upset and disappointed, doesn't know what they're doing, yada, yada. So that's one big key point you need to know. The timeline. Everybody also calculates the the $5 million max on the SBA 7A loan incorrectly. The $5 million is not the purchase price. So it's not the how much money you're paying the seller. The $5 million cap on the loan is the purchase price plus all of your fees. And then of course, minus the equity down. And so what do I mean when I say purchase price plus all these fees? What I mean is that, so you have to pay advisor fees, banker fees, accounting fees, SBA guarantee fees, bank fees, if you have a loan broker fees. All those fees combined together on top of the purchase price to create your total transaction cost. And that's the total number looked at when we refer to the $5 million cap. And so, there's that one. I'm going to move on. What's big point number 3? You don't need to be putting in 10% equity down. A lot of people look at that. It is the general rule, but you can put in, and everybody, when they figure this out, when we advise them, they end up putting in only 5% equity down. That's what you're supposed to be doing. The way you get from the 10% equity down requirement to the 5% equity down requirement is by getting a seller note, basically getting the seller to agree to a very specific type of 5% seller note. The terms of it are really complicated. You don't have to remember all this. Again, that's what your attorney's for. But essentially, that 5%, there can be more than the 5% note, okay, that helps with this equity down issue. But that 5% note needs to be deferred. Payment needs to be deferred on it for 10 years. And that might sound kind of crazy. Why would a seller agree to that? Well, again, let's remember that a seller is going to be dealing with a lot of buyers using the SBA 7A program. It's not just you. And so this is something that they're walking into when they sell their business. So moving on here, that's the buyer equity injection issue and the payment deferment issue. You should know this one already. For anybody, any buyer, anybody on the buy side who's going to own 20% or more of the equity of the target. So if you got two partners and you're both 50-50, you both need to put a personal guarantee on that loan. And so that's why you see a lot of people doing, well, hey, I'm the buyer, I'm going to own 82%, and you're my operating partner, you're going to own 18%. Because when you hit that 20% or more threshold, then they have to PG it also. And of course, people, PGs are not good. I have a lot of other important things that you need to know as well, but for the sake of time on this video, I'm going to end this video here. If you're buying a business, if you're a first-time business buyer, you need an attorney, come call us over at Principe International. Our website is www.principe.com, and you can go through our automated intake there and get on the phone after you sign up, one of our attorneys, and we'd love to help you with your transaction. You have to hire us before you reach out to the seller or the broker before you put in the offer, because we don't want to have to, renegotiate your deal that you messed up. So you make sure you reach out to us at the right time. Thanks.